Howdy folks, how's it going? Thanks for joining me at the bar. And today we're tasting the latest batch, the beer in the brewery. It's the Tropicale double dry hopped pale ale, which I'll split in two. You can see, keen eyes are going to notice these glasses have actually been used. That's because I just did this video. Little John sort of raved on a bit more than was bloody necessary. One could say there was some waffle. But anyway, let's get into this and get it done. So first up, thank you to Little John's Patreons. Your support keeps the channel going. There's a link down the bottom in the description for anybody who's interested in becoming a patron, or just have a look at what it's all about. Subscribe button's down there in the corner as well. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, may I suggest you hit the subscribe button, get subscribed. That way you'll get notified when there's a new video, you don't miss anything. Helps the channel out. And no matter what, hit the like button. Give me the big thumbs up, that helps keep the channel going as well. Now, while this beer sits here and fizzes away like a bloody big bastard, I've got to do a redraw on this month's Patreon prize, speaking of Patreons, due to the fact that the last draw, which is normally done in the beer that was segment for the month, the winner decided that very afternoon to cancel his membership. So I've had to redo the draw. And our winner, as a result, is Kent Simons. Kent, I've got a funny feeling you may have won before. Don't quote me on that. But either way, there'll be a prize coming your way in the coming little bit, or a little bit longer, depending on what happens in this current crazy world of COVID, where out of the blue you get stuck into fucking isolation and you can't do shit. But anyway, the Tropicale double dry hopped pale ale. Let's flick over now, have a little bit of a chat, or watch me having a bit of a chat from Brew Day about the grain bill and the thought behind this beer. Okay, so Tropicale. The idea for this brew came around from the extravaganza with the Black Rock Pale Ale, where I'd used Kawatu and Raku in the dressed up version, and I was really happy with the results. I really liked the flavour I was getting, and I've designed this beer around those two hops. I'm going for a very tropical, fruity mix. There's quite a few hops in here. I'm not going to talk about the hops just right this very second. Right now, let's talk about the malt bill. So, as I said, 16 litre batch. I'm looking at 16 into the fermenter. We'll be going the all-rounder. So I've mashed in with 28 litres. I adjusted the numbers, played around a little bit, trying to get the numbers right, because I had actually fitted a new pickup tube into the kettle, and on testing last night with it, I was pulling about an extra 2 litres of liquid from the bottom of the pot. So where I was losing somewhere around 5 litres in that, I'm now losing, well, I was under the 2.5 litre mark last night. I didn't exactly measure what came out, but it was sitting a little bit under the 2.5 litre mark. So I'm hoping I've picked up an extra 2 litres on my volume there, where I was getting losses. And because I'm brewing a bag and I'm going to boil in that pot, overall I'm going to get fairly low losses in general. Certainly less losses than I've been having in the last few batches, so I'm just flying a little bit blind on that. So the adjustments into the recipe told me I needed just under 27 litres to mash in. So I've got the 28, so we'll see how we go. If we end up with an extra litre at the end, I don't think it's going to really hurt gravity-wise, because I think target original gravity is like 1048, so it's not going to hurt if I do actually pour that extra litre in. But we will see. So let's get this brew actually happening on here. Okay, so it wanted 26.5 litres of water. So close enough at the moment. I'm happy with that. So we're underway. So 40 minutes at the moment at aiming for 65 degrees. So we're just on 66 there going in. So that I'm very happy with that as a starting point. So what we've got in there in the way of grain is Voyager Pale Schooner Malt, 43.6%. Gladfield Pilsner at 40.1%, and that's the main workhorse. I've gone for a mix of the two because I don't want it real light, but I want it still lightish. So I'm going for somewhere between, a light pale and an IPA, somewhere in that middle range. 7.5% flaked oats, and I've just used quick oats, just bloody Woolies cheap quick oats. 3.5% Carahel and 3% Pale Crystal. The last two just to give a little bit of extra malty character underneath. So the hops are going to be the real play here, but that's just to give that a little bit of balance. I will be adding some lactose, which totals 2.4% of the bill, into the boil a bit later on. So I'll probably mention that again later. So we're underway, as I said, 40 minutes at 65, and then I'll be going straight up to 75 degrees for a 30-minute rest before pulling the bag. Okay, yeah, so flowing on from that extravaganza brew with the Raku and the Kawatu, I sort of thought, okay, I want to build a beer around those sort of flavours and what I got from that. So this is what led to this beer. So we'll go back to brew day. This is a 16 litre batch. I will put the brew farmer link down the bottom to the recipe, so you can check it out and look at it if you want. So 16 litre batch, 26.5 litres of mash water. It was the last brew on the Nemo before I got the new pump, so it was just a full volume. Wasn't brewing a bag because I did just use the false bottom, which was the first time I've actually used it on its own without a bag. I've got to say it actually worked, reasonably, fairly well. I'm pretty happy with it. But yeah, full volume. I added to that 26.5 litres
calcium sorbate and a bit of sodium metabisulfate to knock out any chlorine or chloramine, and then added some additional chemicals into the water. And basically what we ran with was a 2-to-1 ratio of calcium chloride to sulfate, a little bit of salt, a touch of lactic acid just to get the pH down into a happy place. So went with that, mashed in at 65 degrees. 28 litres of mashed water. We're doing brew in a bag on this one. I'm looking for a 16 litre output. Grains are milled. Water is currently sitting at around 70 degrees. I want it at 66 for mash. So I'm pretty happy to start around there. Bag in, give it a good mix. And let that sit for 40 minutes. Then raise that to 75 after the 40 and hold that for about another 20 minutes. And then quick boil loop. Into the boil went an assortment of hops. We are about 27 minutes into the boil, 60-minute boil. First hops are going in at 30 minutes. And that first addition is Sabro. Going for the Sabro, a little bit of, looking for some of that nice coconut, desserty, creamy sort of feel it gives up front. And give a little bit of mint and that sort of thing. But the general thing I'm finding with Sabro, especially using it early in the boil, so this is 30 minutes and there's also going to be a hop stand. So it's effectively going to be utilising for around 50, about 50 minutes. So it's going to drive those flavours, and I found that the coconut and that creamy dessert feeling really push hard once you get above 30 minutes in the boil. I reckon that 40-minute mark, it seems to really intensify that sort of flavour. The mint and those side flavours become a little bit more muted. So I'm really looking to carry that coconut through. So that's our first addition, which is going at 30 minutes. Then we'll be looking for our hop stand hops, so nothing else in the boil other than the first Sabro hit, which is 19 IBUs. Then we'll be doing a hop stand 20 minutes at 85 degrees with the Kohatu and the Raku. I've got 8 IBUs of Kohatu and 11 IBUs of Raku. Both the same weight, but they're providing a little bit different IBU ratio. So that's going to get me another 29 IBU there, supposedly. It seems like quite a lot, but I think because it's hop stand, I think it's going to be quite gentle. It's going to gives a lot of melon, a bit of pineapple, some mango, guava type, that tropical stony fruit sort of finish. And then we'll be dry hopping with Eclipse on day 2, about 28 grams. So the dry hop will get 3 days each. So the Eclipse will come out on day 5 when the Citra and Eldorado go in. They'll sit for another 3 days, they'll come out. And that should get me about around the point we're going to be ready to cold crash, chill down and start heading towards packaging. So, going to go get these suckers in. So yeah, Sabro up front, 30 minutes, looking for a total of 19 IBU. This is taken into account a 20-minute hot stand for the Kohatu and the Raku, which gives us for a total of 38 IBU on the hot side. And that 38 IBU is quite noticeable in the tasting. It's quite prominent. There's a noticeable coconutty sort of a vibe that comes from that initial hot burst coming from the Sabro. There's a little bit of salt on the tongue. Probably a little bit more than I was after. Not a lot, but a little bit more than I wanted. It's only 0.5 gram in that full batch, but it's just given a little touch more than I would have liked. And the reality is I probably could have pulled something else back to compensate. There was 1.5 grams of Epsom salt. I probably could have pulled that back a little bit and got a slightly better result. But it's not ridiculous, and it's not off-putting, but it's just a little more noticeable than I would have liked. The upfront malt is nice. There's a lovely malt profile going on. It's soft and gentle, but there's still a little bit of sweetness there. Nice amount of flavour. I think it's working quite well overall. I'm pretty happy with the grain bill. I'm not picking up any lactose. There's a little bit of lactose in there. 90 grams. Not really doing anything. Probably could have gone with a little bit more. And I was looking for that lactose just to give that little bit of desserty sweetness, a tropical. I was looking for more of a tropical dessert sort of effect, tying in with the Sabro and the coconut cream and the mint sort of ice creamy vibe that it can produce, which in this beer takes a little while to develop. It's not pronounced initially when the beer's cold. As it warms, that becomes more noticeable. Now, kegerator is at 3 degrees. Those creamy, desserty flavours certainly come up, and the tropical notes of this beer certainly come up as it warms. From previous tastings and from the beer I had just before this one, as I was getting towards the end, those flavours were sort of becoming a little bit more noticeable. I said the coconut cream, the melon, the honeydew, and the sort of mango / pineapple sort of vibe that you're getting from that Kohatu and the Raku. And then the more traditional stone fruit and lemon coming from the El Dorado and the Citra at the end. Sort of just ties off this whole fruit salad tropical sort of effect. And as it warms and that tropical note starts to become a bit more apparent, that initial bitter edge seems to, it settles a little bit, becomes a little bit more rounded and smooth. So it's definitely a beer that's worth warming a little bit. And you can see it's got it's producing a lovely head, holding beautiful, putting beautiful lacing out. It's a well balanced and well carried beer. It does things really well. let's go over here quickly. As I said, it's the same beer. The only difference was I primed this with a combination of dextrose, 1/3 of the small side of a scoop, so 1/3 of what you'd normally use in a 330ml or in a stubby, and then I used 4 millilitres per bottle. This stuff, Bigford's Tropical Cordial. And I was just trying to see how it would go. So many beers currently they're using juices and these sort of things in the beer to get them around, to finish them off. It's a bit of a it's a bit of a thing at the moment, so I thought I'd give it a whirl, see how it went. And what it's left with is a very different beer. For essentially, what a lot of people are going to say, a very small addition. And this is arguments I've had before, and there's videos, older videos now, but there's videos where I've had discussions about this, and I've had arguments with people about the impact of small amounts of things in a bottle, particularly when you're priming with them. 4 mils of juice. It's 1%. It's a bit over about 1.2% of the whole volume of this beer, but it has a significant impact on the beer itself. It's taken away that bitter edge that's there at the front. It's brought much more softer and more pronounced juiciness to the brew. But it just finishes with a slightly it's not fake, but if you're really looking closely, you can get that cordial sort of a vibe to it. I think if no one actually told you there was cordial in that beer and just gave it to you and said, here's a tropical pale ale, you'd probably just assume that there's been some juice added, as part of the maybe in the end of the ferment, in a secondary or something. I don't know if you necessarily picked it was cordial, but it's certainly noticeable that it's not a standard sort of beer flavour. It's not a hop flavour, it's not coming from grain or anything like that. It's something that has been added to the beer. I think some people would really enjoy it. I don't think it's really working. But by the same token, I'm not really big on those sort of additions. And again, I think it just leaves that sort of finish that's not something I like anyway. So definitely going to be people who would like that. So maybe it's worth trying if you're doing something similar. And you're bottling, obviously it's easier if you're bottling. Do a couple of bottles and see how it works for you. Look, I've previously done the lime and the lemon cordial in the Cerveza and worked really, really well. Whether certain cordials or juices work better than others, I suppose that's always going to be a case. There might just be a particular juice in this cordial that just doesn't go well with the fermentation process. That happens. I find it's a lot of times citrus juices themselves do not work well in a ferment. They don't translate well. Lemons and limes, into the citrus, certainly perform better than oranges, as an example. So, I don't know. But yeah, worth a try if you're bottling. Do a couple of bottles, you know, prime the rest normal and throw some juice, yeah. Throw something like that, or find some other alternatives. This one's got just a little bit over carbed. Got the measurements just a fraction wrong. Doesn't happen. It's not far off, as you can see. But yeah. Probably would have been better off with the free meals, with the third scoop, I think. And would probably be enough, even 2 mil, to bring it down enough to give some of the character without having so much of the cordial sort of a finish. But at the end of the day, this is really what we're looking at, the base beer. As I said, as it's warming, it's bringing up more of the flavours that I've sort of intended to get there. The Sabra's playing more. Yeah, those New Zealand hops are producing some of that nice middle tropical sort of notes. Then the Eclipse, the Eldorado, the Citra are just finishing it off. Overall, fairly happy with how it's gone. Changes. Like I said, I think we'll drop the salt. Overall together, I'll certainly look at the overall combination of the chemicals and bring it down a little bit. Maybe a touch on the on that canning salt, bring the Epsom salt down a little bit maybe. Pardon me. It's hard to say exactly where the minerals are playing, but it's definitely bring that salt down a little bit. I think hop-wise, I think the Eclipse could be left out on that day 2 dry hop and just let it run through to day 5 and just do a single dry hop with the Eldorado and the Citra at the end. There's a little bit of a muddle in the flavour, and I think it's the Eclipse that's causing it. So may have just pushed a little bit too far on the number on the combinations, or might have just even been better doing a, splitting that day 2 hop addition between the Eldorado and the Citra and just sticking with the 2 hops instead of the 3. But yeah, other than that, malt wise, I'm happy with the malt profile. I'm happy with the mash profile. This is a mix of the New England Brew yeast and some USO5, which is the yeast I'm working towards my house blend. You would have may have seen videos on that recently. Once again, that New England yeast has not produced a hazy finish. I did originally describe it, I've got it on the recipe sheet, Tropicale double dry hopped hazy pale. It's not crystal clear. It's been in the keg now for, it's 4 or 5 weeks. Have I got a kegging date? March the 11th is bottling, so yeah, it's the 8th today, so it's 4 weeks. So it's not crystal clear, but it's certainly not as hazy as I would have liked. I'm happy with what the New England provides in the way of yeast profile and flavour, but it doesn't produce a hazy beer like it should. Yeah, there's 7.5% oats in this.
hops on day 2. Should be enough really to get some haze, but we didn't. But anyway, that's it. We're done. Can't tell you any fucking more. So that's Tropicale. Some minor changes, and I think this is going to be quite a nice beer. Not a bad beer as it is, but does need some tweaks to make it a, make it a really good beer. The links are down the bottom, so check that out if you want. Ask any questions, make any comments down the bottom as per always. Again, thank you to the Patreon, to the channel. That support keeps the channel going, lets me, it gives me the option to play around with this sort of thing. So you guys hopefully can learn stuff at home or look at just different ways of doing things. Thank you to subscribers. Instead of you aren't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now. It's not never ever too late to hit the subscribe button, and it's never too late to hit the like button either. But that's me, Little John. I'm done for today. So till I see you on the next video, when we'll be, I don't know, we could be brewing beer, we could be talking beer, we could be drinking beer. But until then, good brewing.